On the night of March 28, 2025, Thailand and Myanmar were struck by a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake. The epicenter was located near the historic city of Bagan in Myanmar, an area rich in culture and heritage. The quake occurred at a shallow depth of just 10 kilometers, significantly amplifying its impact on surrounding towns. Immediately after the earthquake, the city of Bagan, famous for its ancient temples, was left in a state of shock. Residents felt the ground shake beneath their feet, with many describing the sensation as an intense tremor that lasted several seconds. The streets filled with panicked people rushing to safety. Witness accounts began pouring in, with many sharing their terrifying experiences. "I was at home when everything started shaking. I thought the ceiling would collapse," said a local resident. Authorities were quickly mobilized and rescue teams were dispatched to the affected area. First responders faced immense challenges, with buildings collapsing and roads blocked. Communication was disrupted in several areas, hampering rescue coordination. In Bangkok, the capital of Thailand, the tremors were strongly felt, prompting residents to evacuate buildings and seek shelter in safe locations. As the night progressed, the scale of the destruction became clearer. Hospitals were flooded with the injured, and emergency services were overwhelmed. The government declared a state of emergency, and humanitarian aid began to be organized to address the basic needs of victims. The earthquake's impact not only damaged local infrastructure but also left deep emotional scars on the population. This tragic event was not just a natural disaster but a stark reminder of communities' vulnerability in the face of nature's force. As we examine the aftermath and the lessons to be learned, it is crucial to understand the gravity of what happened on that fateful night. The consequences of the March 28, 2025 earthquake were devastating, leaving a profound impact on the lives of people in Myanmar and Thailand. With a death toll rising to 28 and approximately 700 injured, the tragedy left an indelible mark on the region. Local hospitals quickly became emergency hubs, overwhelmed by a constant influx of victims, many in critical condition. Accounts from first responders revealed the scale of the crisis. "I've never seen anything like this," said a doctor on duty that night. People were arriving in droves, some with severe injuries, others in complete shock. It was chaos. Among the wounded were children and the elderly, their stories of survival and loss echoing through the grief-stricken atmosphere. Beyond the human toll, the disaster also struck at the heart of the region's cultural heritage. Bagan, renowned for its magnificent Buddhist temples, suffered significant damage. Many of these ancient structures, which had stood for centuries, were cracked or reduced to rubble. The loss of these monuments transcends infrastructure. It represents the erosion of cultural identity and community heritage. The destruction of the temples sparked waves of sorrow and outrage among locals and tourists who had long admired this global wonder. "It feels like losing a part of our soul," said a local tour guide, visibly shaken. "These temples aren't just stone. They embody our history, faith, and culture." The community's response was swift and united. Volunteers mobilized to provide shelter, food, and emotional support to survivors. International humanitarian organizations also began arriving, delivering medical aid and supplies. Yet recovery would be a long and arduous process, demanding not just resources but also the resilience and solidarity of the people. As days passed, it became clear that this tragedy was more than statistics. It was woven from stories of shattered lives, irreplaceable losses, and a community struggling to rebuild. The next step is to examine the causes of this catastrophic event and how we can better prepare for the future. To grasp the severity of the earthquake that struck Thailand and Myanmar, it's crucial to examine the geological factors that made it possible. The March 28, 2025 event was the result of complex tectonic movements deep beneath the Earth's surface. The region lies at the intersection of two major tectonic plates, the Indian Plate and the Eurasian Plate. These plates are in constant motion, and their interaction creates built-up pressure over time. When this pressure becomes unbearable, it releases suddenly in the form of seismic energy, triggering an earthquake. The epicenter was located near the Sagang Fault, a well-known geological feature notorious for its seismic activity. Stretching hundreds of kilometers, this fault is a primary source of geological instability in the region. The earthquake's shallow depth, just 10 kilometers, amplified the tremors felt on the surface. To put its magnitude into perspective, the energy released was equivalent to multiple nuclear explosions, comparable to the force of the Hiroshima bomb. This comparison underscores the devastating potential of earthquakes, even in areas not traditionally recognized as high-risk seismic zones. Additionally, the region's geology, characterized by specific soil and rock compositions, played a key role in intensifying the tremors. In areas with softer sediments, like those found in Bagan, seismic waves can amplify, leading to greater destruction. This combination of geological factors makes Thailand and Myanmar vulnerable to natural disasters, despite the region's lack of frequent severe earthquakes in recorded history. Understanding these geological mechanisms is critical not just for science, but also for disaster preparedness and risk mitigation. With this knowledge, we can develop better construction standards, reinforce infrastructure, and ultimately save lives in future seismic events. Now, let's explore how preparedness and prevention can make a difference in such crises. The devastation caused by the March 28, 2025 earthquake underscores the vital importance of preparedness and prevention in disaster-prone regions. While we cannot predict when or where an earthquake will strike, we can take measures to minimize damage and save lives. Community education and awareness are the cornerstones of this effort. 1. Drills save lives. The power of preparedness. One of the first steps in disaster readiness is regular evacuation drills. These exercises familiarize people with safety protocols and escape routes. In Bagan, some schools and community organizations had already implemented such drills before the earthquake, undoubtedly saving lives on that chaotic night. Practice transforms panic into purposeful action. 2. Earthquake-resistant infrastructure. Building for survival. Enforcing strict construction codes is non-negotiable. Buildings must incorporate flexible materials and seismic engineering techniques to withstand tremors. The collapse of unprepared structures in Bagan exposed a deadly gap in compliance. Retrofitting older buildings and mandating resilient designs for new ones could prevent future tragedies. 3. Early warning systems, seconds that save lives. Technology plays a pivotal role. Earthquake early warning systems, which detect seismic waves and send instant alerts, can provide precious seconds for people to take cover. While such systems are still being refined globally, their potential is undeniable. Investment in these technologies must be a priority. For unified disaster response, coordination is key. Effective disaster management requires collaboration between local authorities, national governments, and international organizations. This includes training specialized rescue teams, pre-positioning emergency supplies, streamlining humanitarian coordination. The faster and more organized the response, the more lives can be saved. 5. Community resilience, the human factor. Beyond infrastructure and technology, social resilience determines recovery. Communities with strong bonds and mutual aid networks recover faster. Psychological support, shared resources, and collective problem-solving turn survivors into rebuilders. A path forward. The 2025 earthquake was a wake-up call. By combining education, engineering, technology, and unity, we can transform vulnerability into resilience. The next disaster is not a matter of if, but when, and preparation today will define survival tomorrow. In the aftermath of the devastating March 28, 2025 earthquake, the true strength of Bagan's community began to shine. Resilience, an innate human quality, became visible in every corner as residents united to face adversity. Solidarity and mutual support became the foundation for rebuilding lives and infrastructure. 1. The immediate response, compassion in action. Moments after the disaster, volunteer groups formed spontaneously. People of all ages and backgrounds came together to distribute food, clothing, and shelter. Social media emerged as a lifeline, enabling real-time coordination of aid efforts. I've never seen such determination and compassion in the face of tragedy, remarked a local volunteer. 2. Stories of survival. Healing together. Amid the rubble, tales of hope emerged. Families who lost everything found strength in one another, sharing resources and rebuilding side by side. Mental health workshops were organized to address trauma, with counselors working alongside community leaders. Emotional recovery is as vital as physical recovery, noted a psychologist assisting survivors. 3. Cultural roots as a source of strength. Bagan's rich traditions became a beacon of resilience. Religious ceremonies and healing rituals, centuries-old pillars of identity, restored a sense of purpose. Faith carried us forward, shared a community elder. Together, we drew strength from our heritage. 4. Rebuilding with purpose, a community's blueprint. As reconstruction began, residents actively shaped their future. Town hall meetings prioritized earthquake-resistant infrastructure. Local knowledge guided rebuilding efforts, ensuring solutions matched real needs. Youth initiatives mobilized to preserve cultural sites while integrating modern safety standards. 5. A testament to the human spirit. Bagan's resilience is more than survival. It's a global lesson in unity. From volunteers clearing debris to monks leading prayers, every action wove a stronger social fabric. "We are not just rebuilding temples," said a teacher. "We are rebuilding trust, hope, and our shared future." The March 28, 2025 earthquake left more than destruction in its wake. It revealed critical lessons for preventing and mitigating future natural disasters. These insights are vital to ensuring history does not repeat itself and vulnerable communities can face tomorrow's challenges with greater strength. 1. Knowledge saves lives. The power of education. Many in Bagan were unaware of the region's seismic risks or safety protocols. Mandatory disaster education programs covering emergency kits, evacuation routes, and structural safety must be integrated into schools and community centers. An informed population is a prepared population. 2. Infrastructure that stands strong. Collapsed buildings exposed deadly gaps in construction standards. Moving forward, enforce seismic-resistant building codes retroactively and for new projects. Incentivize earthquake-proof technologies like base isolators and reinforced masonry. Train local builders in resilient techniques tailored to regional materials. 3. Seconds matter. Early warning systems. Technology could have provided precious seconds to take cover. Priorities include installing low-cost seismic sensors across high-risk zones, developing cell broadcast alerts tied to tremor detection, conducting public drills to maximize response efficiency. 4. Unity in action. Coordinated response. Disaster management thrives on collaboration. Governments must streamline aid distribution and funding. NGOs can bridge gaps with specialized expertise. Communities need seats at the planning table. Their lived experience is irreplaceable. 5. Healing the invisible wounds. Trauma lingers long after rubble is cleared. Solutions. Mobile mental health units offering immediate counseling. Community-led support groups to foster long-term healing. Cultural rituals integrated into recovery to restore spiritual well-being. A blueprint for resilience. Bagan's tragedy taught us that preparation is proportional to survival. By investing in education, infrastructure, technology, and human networks, we transform vulnerability into resilience. The next earthquake is inevitable, but with these lessons, its toll need not be. And if you liked this content, like, comment, share, and if you have ever been through a tragedy, comment below because I would love to read your story.